Listen, Wednesdays may be a hump day for some people, but it need not be for you. How would it feel to just hit pause for a moment? A chance to refresh and re-energize your mind, body, and spirit. Let's find out together on the Water Yourself Wednesday show. Tune in as real women share their stories of triumphs and transformations and how they have manifested the lives that they desire and truly deserve. Hello, and welcome to the Water Yourself Wednesday show. My name is Shannon Malkin-Daniels. I am the author of Water Yourself, the book, and I'm very excited to be here with all of you today. If you're joining us live or whether you're coming back and watching it on the replay, make sure to drop in the comments. Let us know who you are, where you're from, what you're looking forward to getting out of this session today. I can tell you I am very excited to welcome today's guest. Her name is Michelle Berry. And Michelle has worked in the group healthcare insurance industry for over 30 years. Her passion for holistic wellness extends beyond the corporate realm, though. She's certified as a life coach, a yoga teacher, and in Reiki healing energy techniques. She's also influenced by the teachings of Ram Dass, Debbie Ford, Byron Katie, Louis Hay, Eckhart Tolle, and many others whose teachings are rooted in the belief that true healing is possible from self-awareness and self-love. Michelle, it's so great to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here. It's an honor.
Yeah, and we got to hear some behind the scenes exciting news right before we went live. Do you want to share that with our audience?
Yes, I am engaged to my soulmate, the love of my life. So I'm thrilled and excited.
Congratulations. Very excited for you.
Spending the rest of my life with him.
Yay. That's so exciting. We love here.
Thank you.
So I want to dive in today.
I was talking.
I want to dive in today when I was sharing your bio with everybody about all the certifications you have and your passion for health and wellness and holistic healing. You know, you're certified as a life coach, a yoga teacher, and in Reiki healing energy techniques, but that wasn't always the case. Can you tell us a little bit about what led you on this path, this journey?
Yes, it has been a journey. About 18 years ago, I found myself in a place where a series of events started to happen. First, with my marriage, my home life was crumbling. My home was not a safe place to be for my two children, who were 6 and 8 at the time, or for me, for that matter, which ultimately led to divorce. Less than a year later, my father was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer in November and ultimately passed in January. My father was my rock, my best friend as I was going through a very tumultuous time. And then I found about a little over a year after that, I was in the shower and found a lump under my armpit, which turned out to be stage 3 melanoma in my lymph nodes. I had just at that point taken on a new job. I was a single mom at that point in time, almost 100%. And the side effects of that was interferon, the treatment was interferon. And the side effects of that was feeling like you had the flu times 100 for an entire year. So it was something that I really needed to, kind of get my head wrapped around. And I felt personally that I was like solely responsible for caring for these two children. And so I had to find the motivation to kind of plow through it. When I finally got through that year, I found myself in this really place of deep depression, where I was sort of questioning myself, like a period of self-loathing, thinking that everything was my fault, and just really at a place where I was not happy and miserable. So a friend of mine at the time gave me a book by Eckhart Tolle called The Power of Now, which changed my life pretty profoundly, because as I was reading it, I realized that my emotional state of mind, which are tied to my thoughts, and my identification with the mind, and that really kind of a light bulb went off, because I was like, I have this illness here that manifested into disease, or what I've come to learn as dis-ease. And that sort of set me on a trajectory of a passion and a real thirst for wanting to figure it out, like wanting to figure out, how did I get to this place? How did I get to this place where I'm dealing with this? I have, a lot of challenges in my life, and I really just need to change my perspective on things. So that really just started my path and my journey, which will always continue for the rest of my life, of just self-awareness, self-love, self-discovery. So that's pretty much how I came to looking at modalities like deepening my spirituality. A couple authors, as you mentioned, were really, really pivotal in my journey. Tara Brach, Radical Acceptance. I really looked for things that helped me change my perspective. And when I was caught in that spiral of darkness, I looked for books. I looked for talks. I looked for, workshops, anything that could get me sort of out of that little hamster wheel.
I realized I muted myself. I have my little doggy in the background snorting, so I didn't want to interrupt. This is live, y'all. This is how we do it live. But I think a lot of us can identify with going through pain, going through trauma, experiencing loss. We don't all have the same story and the same experiences as you have and that you've shared with us. So thank you for opening up and sharing about that. We all do have our own story to tell too, and we have these things that stand out in our lives that create these pivot moments or these opportunities to open our eyes and increase our self-awareness. And you mentioned all these authors and all these books. What were some of those key nuggets that really stood out for you? You mentioned Eckhart Tolle, and you mentioned a couple of other authors and books, Radical Acceptance being one. What were 2 or 3 of those key standout things that just created that aha moment for you?
Well, all of these situations that I kind of navigated through made me realize that I did not have a self-love. I didn't have self-esteem. I didn't have self-confidence, and it came from my upbringing, a feeling of not being worthy, not enoughness, and so the authors that I kind of gravitated to offered me a way of being able to look at myself differently, to try and love myself for exactly how I was, even though I didn't feel enough, even though I didn't feel like, I deserved anything. It really was about changing my perspective. And it was a lot of fake it till you make it. There is a woman, her name is Louise Hay. Some of you might be familiar with her. And her work is about self-love and acceptance. And she's all affirmations. And I went to a workshop of hers in New York City, many, many years ago. And she got up on stage, and she has a pretty interesting story. She was 60 when she sort of went into become a, teacher of sorts. And she told the story about when she started her journey. She looked in the mirror every day and she would say, "Louise, I love you. I really, really, really love you." And so I did that. I went home from that workshop, and for months and months and months, I would do that. And it was uncomfortable and it was awkward, and I didn't really mean it, but I did it anyway. I wrote affirmations on my mirror. It was things like that, little tricks that I just had to force myself to do as uncomfortable as they were, to fake it till I made it. Tara Brach, she is about radical acceptance, and she's got lovely audio book where there were guided meditations. So when I went to bed at night, and if I couldn't get myself to out of the darkness, I would plug her in my ears and I would just listen and cry and listen and cry. So these were just, they became like my friends that I brought along with me on my journey. And those are just tools. I just learned how to create tools in my toolbox to help me when I couldn't get myself out.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I like how you refer to these authors and these books as your friends and the things that helped you along. And it's funny you talk about positive affirmations. I was teaching a workshop this morning on confidence and did a lot of talking about the limiting beliefs that we hold and positive affirmations and how we have to fake it till we make it by retraining our brain. We tell ourselves all these stories about ourselves, these limiting beliefs that aren't really true. But we tell ourselves that they're true. So why can't we tell ourselves a different story? Why can't we rewire our brain? Why can't we change our perception in the way that we think about ourselves and love ourselves and accept ourselves? So that's really beautiful that you talk about that. And knowing a bit about your story, I know that you talked a little bit about your story, but I know that you were in survival mode for a long time. We're not just talking about a few years here. We're talking about decades in survival mode. So how did you really manage that and have the tenacity and the drive to not only survive it, but now to thrive in the life that you have?
Yeah. Well, the same friend of mine that gave me the book also gave me the name of a very good therapist. Her name's Kathleen. And that was probably 18 years ago. And I went in and she told me that if I stuck with her and did what she told me to do, she'd change my life. And I did. And I took that very seriously. And so I invested in myself. It was a time where I was financially strapped, raising 2 kids on my own, mostly financially on my own. And that was one thing that I never skimped out on. And I had to go through a rebirth, and I just knew in my heart that there was like this little flicker of a flame that was still lit. And no matter how dark, and I think I experienced a little bit of the dark night of the soul, because that's how kind of I would go in, and just, it took me a long time to get out. But I remember it never went out. And so that's when I would pick up all these, tools in the toolbox to try and get myself out of it. So it's putting in the work. I had to do the work. I was committed to it, and still committed to it. I don't think, no matter how, I would never say I'm enlightened. I would never say I'm awaking. I would say that I am forever evolving. And I love self-growth. I love self-awareness. I, have come, all of the work, when I say you fake it till you make it, and then along the way, in here what you want to do or how you want to feel. But it has to come down to your heart. And I think that's the journey that I've gone through. Is I went from my head, and it just, over the years, kept going a little bit deeper and up again, and then a little bit deeper. And now I feel it in my heart. But that doesn't mean that there aren't areas where I need to grow. I'm in a relationship now I'll be committed to for life, and that brings up stuff, right? And that's a great mirror for where I need to continue to do my work. What triggers me, so, and none of it goes away, but you learn to figure out ways that work for you that you can lean on.
Yep. Yeah. And I thought it was interesting that you talked about a couple of things. One, that you wouldn't call yourself enlightened, that you're continual work in progress. And we all are a work in progress, right? None of us are perfect. We're always evolving. we're always changing, and that should be expected. We should be evolving and we should be changing as we experience new things and learn new things about the world. So that's really important. But you also mentioned having a wonderful therapist that helped you and you just stuck with it and you invested in yourself, even though at the time you didn't feel like you really had the financial means to be able to invest in yourself. So the Water Yourself team, and myself included, we often talk about the profound importance of support and community and having those people around you that will help you to continue to grow and continue to evolve. And it sounds like that was really important and life-saving for you, from your therapist to your children. So what is your advice for those who may be in a similar place in their life to where you were then at that time regarding support and getting support and the importance of it?
Yeah, I mean, she saved my life, to be perfectly blunt about it. And I was able to, I think, get rebirthed, right? I think there was a rebirthing that she kind of stuck with. It's about finding the right person, though, right? So if you don't have the right therapist, try and find the right one for you. But it is important because I couldn't have raised my kids alone. Like, one of the things that I, really was committed to also was raising my kids. I figured I had one shot at it. They're now 26 and 24, and I'm a grandmother. But, I wanted to be the best mother that I could be. And I wanted to be how I wanted to be, not how I was raised. And, understanding that all those things are brought into, early on when I had kids, it was all brought into it. And then I was like, wait a second, that's not how I want to be. So, it was that. And then, the other support was finding out what I wanted to do for me. Right. So I identified myself along the way as I had to make money to raise my children, to financially provide for them. And then I need to be a mother. But then where's Michelle? And that's what Kathleen helped me figure out, is like, wait, there's a Michelle there. Don't forget about Michelle. And so
Yes.
that's where she encouraged me to like look for something. I had no hobbies. I had no interest. I didn't even know what I was interested in at the time. And so she tasked me with finding something, find a certificate program, find an art class or whatever is interesting. And then I, spent a lot of time Googling at the time. This is probably like 12 years ago, 10 years ago. And I found a life coaching program in New York City at the New York Open Center. And I was like, oh, wait, well, this sounds interesting to me. And so I signed up for it. And again, not having the means to do it, but I figured it out. And so that forced me to find my, once a month, go to New York City to take the class. There was time commitment during the week to, do all the work that's related to class. And I had to find care for my kids because I was like, 24/7. So I, finished that program. And then I went to another workshop and saw Debbie Ford had a program and went right into that. And that program there really just, completely changed my life, because the first 3 months I was like, it's like a, jackhammer. Like, you had to focus on yourself. You had to like work on yourself first before you can learn how to coach other people. And that's when I learned some of the tools that, I still rely on today, which is, having a vision and a goal, and what do I really want, and how do I align to what I really want. And a lot of the other things that go along with that program. But, so that was a support for me. I found friends that were outside of my friend group, and I found friends that were interested in spirituality. And, I still keep in touch with many of them today. So that was a huge support system for me. So, it's finding who you are as an individual, especially when there's children involved. And it's very easy for us as women to, feel like that's it. That's our whole life. It's just being a mom. It's just, providing, especially if you're a single mom. But even if you're not, we still get caught up in that. And it's very important to, have something that separates you from that, because we're all individuals at the end of the day.
Yep. Yeah, you're speaking the water yourself language, that you have to put your oxygen mask on first so you can better help others, right? If you can't take care of yourself, or if you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to run out of space and energy to be able to take care of others. So you have to put on your oxygen mask first. You have to take care of yourself. You can't forget about Michelle or Shannon or Zeph, or insert your name here as part of that process. So that's very, very important. And I want to leave with a note here that the title of this episode, as we were working on this and talking about this upcoming episode, is The Way Around Is Through. And you and I get to have some discussions around what that means. And I know that you've really lived that. Can you explain to our audience what you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, all along my journey, there were many temper tantrums I had that was like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? Why, like, what did I do to deserve this? I mean, oh my gosh, my therapist will tell you. But yeah, there were many, many temper tantrums I had along the way. And what I came to realize after I got through those is, all right, well, maybe there's something that I need to learn here. Maybe there's something that's like going to force me to grow here. So, you can't get around it. Like, you've got to look at yourself, and it's an inside job. I'm sure, and you've heard that happiness is an inside job. It starts with self-love and acceptance. And that was very, very, very hard for me. Very hard. And it almost becomes like an addiction, right? Like a habit to, that's your default. And that's kind of what it came for me. Like a victim mentality. So I had to learn how to come out of that. And I did. And so I think if we all think we're going to just read a book and it's going to make it all better, it's not, because there's going to be something, that comes up that's going to trigger you, that's going to challenge you. It's going to make you question why. And I think things are just the way they are sometimes. I think that, I've learned through my studies with Ram Dass's work that it's all grist for the mill. It's all grist for the mill. This life is a classroom, and we're all dished out things that we need to have happen in order to grow and evolve. So you can swim upstream and resist it, but what you resist persists. And until you let go and surrender, it's just going to keep happening over and over again. And that's, I don't want to be remiss in saying that it's not easy. I get it. And I've experienced it. And I can tell you that once you get from your head to your heart, there's a sense of freedom. There's a sense of peace. And so I look forward to challenges. I look forward to being triggered now. I can say that because I'm not currently in a triggered mode, but and sometimes when I do it, I don't really love it. But when I come out of it, I do, and because it makes me better. It makes me. And when we do, the unintended or intended result is that the more love and compassion that you can have for yourself, the more love and your compassion that you can have for others. And that really is the gift in all of it.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I love that. And when you started talking about that, you're actually pushing through something right now, public speaking, right? Overcoming an anxiety you have around public speaking by being here today and taking this step. So I appreciate you doing that and stepping out on that. And you're just proving that you're doing it over and over and over again, and you're practicing what you preach. And to your point, we all go through it. We all get mired in it. I have had a hell of a last 6 years myself. And instead of taking the mindset of this is not fair and kicking and screaming, which some days I do, trust me, some days it's not fair. Why is this happening to me? And you can't take it anymore, and you have to feel the feels, right? But then you have to learn, how do I get through this? And what can I learn from this? And how can I use my story to help others? So I really appreciate you being here, opening up, being vulnerable, sharing your story to help others. And as we sign off here and in the episode, I'd like to ask you, what does the phrase water yourself mean to you?
Just be really aware of what you're needing when you need it. Is it to be by yourself? Is it to, crawl in bed and read a book? Is it to help other people? Sometimes that really is nourishing. But that if you don't nourish yourself, it's like sort of that mask concept. You're just going to kind of whittle away. So the more you step into that place of self-love and acceptance, the more you'll become aware of what you need to do to kind of nourish yourself. So, but very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to do the work. You have to put in the work. You've got to go through it, and you've got to move from your head to your heart and accept yourself and love yourself for who you are. Thank you so much for this beautiful message, Michelle. And
thank you.
If people want to connect with you or get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
You can reach out to me at my email address, mjc1045@gmail.com. Would love to hear from anybody.
Great. Thank you so much. And for those of you out there that are going through it and need some help or need some support, go and get it. We invite you to join us this evening. We're having a free Thrive Circle where we're going to come together as women and share and celebrate our successes, but also find ways to connect and support and uplift one another. And we really hope to see you at the Water Yourself retreat that is taking place April 19th through the 21st at the Mansion at Glen Cove. If you'd like to learn more about the retreat or join the Thrive Circle tonight, go to wateryourselfretreat.com. And make sure to tune in every Wednesday for the Water Yourself Wednesday show. Thank you, Michelle, for being here. And thank you to all of those of you who are tuning in. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you for tuning in to the show. We hope the stories shared have inspired you to water yourself. Your transformation begins here. Until next time, keep on manifesting the life you desire and truly deserve. The Water Yourself Wednesdays show is a production of Engage LLC and is brought to you by Water Yourself Retreat. Get more information about the event and community support at wateryourselfretreat.com. You can also follow us on your favorite social media platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube.